Okay, so today we are diving into something truly mind-blowing. How scientists are literally rewriting the code of life itself. We're talking about CRISPR, a revolutionary gene editing technology that is completely changing medicine, offering potential cures for diseases we once thought were incurable.
And look, this isn't science fiction, this isn't some far-off future. This is happening right now. That quote comes straight from a researcher who's working on the very first human trials. It really sets the stage perfectly. Because when you strip away all the complex science and the stock tickers, this is about real people whose lives are being absolutely transformed.
So to really get why this is such a revolution, you gotta understand the problem it's trying to solve. And we're talking about some absolutely devastating genetic diseases that have stumped medicine for, well, forever.
I mean, just try to imagine. Your entire life is defined by constant, agonizing pain. Monthly blood transfusions just to stay alive. For millions of people with diseases like sickle cell, that has been their reality. These aren't things you can just fix with a pill. These are errors literally hard-coded into your DNA from the day you're born.
But what if you could fix them? What if you could go into those 3 billion letters of the human genome, find the typo, and just correct it? Well, that is the incredible promise of this whole gene editing revolution. So what is CRISPR exactly? Well, the wild thing is, the idea was actually borrowed from nature. It's basically a defense system that bacteria use to chop up invading viruses. Scientists, being brilliant, looked at that and said, hey, we can use that. They adapted it into a tool that works like a find and replace function for our own DNA. It can find a very specific gene and then change it with amazing precision.
Okay, now this is where it gets really cool. There are kind of two main flavors of this tech. You've got the original CRISPR. Think of it like genetic scissors. It goes in and makes a clean cut right through the DNA to make a change. But then there's this newer, more refined technique called base editing, and this is more like a pencil and an eraser. Instead of cutting the whole DNA strand, it can just rewrite a single letter. A lot of people think this could be way more precise, maybe even safer down the line.
And I want to be super clear. This is not just some theory stuck in a lab. This technology has made the jump from an experiment to a real, approved medical treatment. And the speed at which it happened, it's just breathtaking. Just look at this timeline. It tells the whole story. In 2013, a key company is founded by a Nobel Prize winner. By 2023, just 10 years later, the FDA approves their first therapy. A decade! From concept to an approved cure? I mean, that is practically light speed in the world of medicine. It's almost unheard of.
So the treatment is called Casgevy, and it's a one-time thing. Here's how it works, in a nutshell. Doctors take a patient's own blood stem cells out of their body. Then, in a lab, they use CRISPR to edit those cells and fix that genetic mistake. Meanwhile, the patient gets a round of chemo to clear out the old, faulty cells. And then, they infuse the newly corrected cells back into the patient. The idea is that these corrected cells will then take root and produce healthy red blood cells for the rest of their life. It's incredible.
And this is the number you really need to remember. 1. As of right now, Casgevy is the one and only CRISPR-based therapy that has the stamp of approval from the FDA. It's a single, monumental achievement that has officially kicked open the door for this whole new generation of medicine and validated the companies racing to build it.
Okay, so that naturally brings us to the companies that are actually building this future. For anyone looking at this from an investment angle, there are really a handful of key public companies that are leading the charge.
All right, let's do a quick roll call. First up, you've got CRISPR Therapeutics, ticker CRSP. They're the current champ, right? They've got the only approved product, Casgevy. Then you have Beam Therapeutics, or BEM. These are the folks pioneering that super precise pencil and eraser base editing we talked about. Next is Intellia, NTLA. They're taking a slightly different path, trying to edit genes directly inside the body. That's called in vivo editing. And finally, you've got a smaller player, Caribou Biosciences, CRBU. They're working on some next-gen tech aiming for even better precision, especially for things like cancer therapies. So you can see, everyone's kind of got their own angle.
But, and this is a big but, investing in the future is rarely a straight line. The potential here is, astronomical. But you have to understand the risks are just as big. It is the absolute definition of a high-risk, high-reward play.
So let's talk about the why. The upside is pretty obvious, right? You're looking at a technology with the potential for absolutely explosive growth. We're talking about one-time cures for diseases. This isn't just an investment in a company. It's really an investment in a totally new way of doing medicine.
Okay, but now for the reality check. And you have to take this seriously. These stocks are wildly volatile. Clinical trials can fail, and they often do. There are still big questions about long-term safety. Things like off-target edits, where the tool accidentally cuts the wrong piece of DNA. And honestly, sometimes the science is the easy part. Just manufacturing and delivering these complex therapies is a huge challenge. This is definitely not an area for the faint of heart.
So, if trying to pick one single winner out of that group feels like too much of a gamble, well, there's another way to play it. You can look into what are called ETFs, or exchange-traded funds, specifically ones that focus on genomics. These let you buy a whole basket of these companies all at once. It's a way to get exposure to the entire revolution while spreading out your risk so you're not putting all your chips on one company's single drug trial.
You know, when you step back, it's clear we're right at the beginning of a brand new era. What started as a weird defense mechanism in bacteria is now an FDA-approved cure for human beings. The technology is moving at a blistering pace, and the implications, ethically, financially, for all of us, are just enormous. The only question left is, how far will it go?